that when they have joined, they are arriving, and when they are getting served, right? So that gives you the waiting time, that is the delay in service, right? And then you can take the mean and you can arrive at the average delay time. Okay. So as such, you see there is no need of any model or any mathematical model to answer this question that what is the average delay time. Okay, you can directly get the data, calculate the mean delay time. So why then we need to develop queuing models? Because see, most of the questions can be answered from data analysis, right? You collect the data and you analyze it and you answer those questions. So why queuing model is important? Can you answer this question? Why queuing model? Why there is a need of developing models or mathematical models for queuing system? Because it appears, it seems that we can directly answer those questions from basic statistical analysis of the collected data, right? So why there is a need of any model?
Maybe to look at multiple servers and see if it helps another.
No, even you see, ideally, when we are taking this example of railway counters, they have multiple servers, right? And in multiple server system also you can collect the data and then give this mean delay time for the system, for the entire system, right? But even if you look at individual counter, then also this type of so all this analysis is possible from the data that you collect, right? So there are two aspects where model will be helpful. One is predict the impact of some change. Predict the impact of some change. Fine. Which means suppose I want to install one more server, open a new counter, or I want to close down an existing counter, and I want to know then what will be its impact on average delay time or average waiting time. Now these cannot be answered from the data collection, right? Not possible. Similarly, another aspect is the steady state behavior of the system. Steady state behavior of the system. Now, usually when you collect the data for a queuing system, you collect it for a short period of time, right? Say for 1 hour, you collect the data and you estimate that what is the average delay time. But steady state behavior or long-term behavior is very important, to understand, because see, from an organization point of view, the railway or any other organization would want to know that, say, what is the average utilization of my manpower of the counters, right? Or in the long run, what is the performance of the system in terms of mean waiting time, right? Now, in order to do that, either you have to collect the data for the entire period, like over say 6 months or 1 year, right, to arrive at such decision, or if you can develop a mathematical predictive model to predict that steady state behavior, that long run behavior. So this was also seen in Markov chain, right? You are already familiar with this term, long run behavior of the system. So these also cannot be answered from direct analysis of the collected data. So these are the two very important aspects for which we need models, mathematical models. Of course, data needs to be collected, and as we will see later that the initial, for these models, the initial input will come from the collected data. Okay, so that is very important. But that is not sufficient to answer these questions, especially regarding the predictions of changes in the system and the steady state behavior. Okay. So I hope now that you find the motivation for studying the mathematical models of queuing systems. So earlier I have given an example of bakery shop where one single this thing is there, single server system you have seen. So now let us take an example of multiple server, because we are already talking about multiple servers. So this is an example of multiple servers. So say 3 servers are there, okay, and then a single queue. It may be a single queue, it may be 3 queues, doesn't matter. So let us take in a single queue. So this is a 3 server system with a single queue. So where do you find this kind of application? Can you tell me? Practical example, some practical example where you find that say multiple servers are there and there is only one queue. So person from these, from the head of the queue will go to either of the servers which are free to give service. Where do you observe this kind of queue? Any example? See, in railway counter, you see multiple queues, right? One for each server. That is fine. But only single queue and then multiple servers. Yeah, tell me.
Saloon.
Yes, very good. Saloon. Very good. So in salon, you find this kind of system. Another very interesting example is airline checking, right? So when you go for this, boarding pass. So you see nowadays they have a long line, and then there will be some security guard at the head of the queue, and then they will direct you to go to the counter which is free. So even in airline check-in system nowadays, this system is found. This type of queuing system is found, right? Even salon is a very good example. Okay, so we will come to this multiple server system later. First, let us understand what is the single server system and develop models for it, and then we'll extend those models to multiple server system. Okay. So let us go back to our bakery shop example. So I am giving you some data regarding this bakery shop. Customer, arrival time, and service time. So suppose someone has observed the system service time. So these are all minutes. This is in minutes. This is in minutes. Minute, I mean, not in minute, it is actually clock time, right? This is clock time, and this is service time interval. That means the duration of service. The person, this duration, the person spends at the counter to get that service. Okay, so that's why you call it service time interval. So say customer 1, it has arrived 9:03, right? And then it took 4 minutes. And then customer 2, say 9:05, took 1 minute. Then 3, 9:07, and it took 2 minutes. And then 4, 9:09, then it took 3 minutes, right? So like this, customer 5, 9, 10, and it takes 1 minute. Okay. So like this, many customers, they will keep arriving at the system, and this data is recorded. That what was the arrival time and what is the duration of service, right? So as you can see, when the customer 1 arrives, so the server is free. It's a single server system, right? So immediately gets the service. That means he will occupy the server till 9:07, right? But the customer 2 has arrived 9:05, so it has to wait for 2 minutes, and then it will get its service, right? So in this way, you will see that which customer has to wait. Some customer may have to wait. Some customers may directly go to the server if it is free, right? So the queuing system data is collected in this manner. And these are the only two types of data that we are interested in. Actually, for each customer, we record their arrival time and the duration of their service. Now, from this data, all other parameters can be estimated. Like if the customer had to wait, right? If the server was free or busy at a particular point of time. Say I want to know at 9:08 whether the server was busy or free. These you can find out by analyzing this data, right? So for recording purpose, we only record this data. Now, if you closely look at this data, you will observe that this arrival time is also random, right? Because there is no pattern, right? It is random. It is not even, it is not coming at fixed intervals, right? It's completely random arrivals. And if you look at the service time also, it is also random, isn't it? So this arrival time must be expressed in terms of a random variable, isn't it? And then the service time should also be expressed in terms of a random variable. This is the primary observation from the data. Then both of these are random quantities. Okay. Now we will see that in order to develop a mathematical model for queuing system, so we have observed there will be customers, and then arrival time, which is a random process, and also service time interval. This is also a random. This is also random. I would not call it a process. As such, it is not a stochastic process. But arrival process is a stochastic process because people keep arriving at the system, right? Whereas service time, this is basically durations. Now these durations are coming from a random variable corresponding to the service time distribution. Okay, but as such, it is not a process. It is not a process, but arrival is a process where people are entering in the system. Okay. So let us now try to understand that how to model this arrival process and the service process. So arrival process. So definitely it is a stochastic process. Why it is a stochastic process? This is a stochastic process. Why? Because it is random and time is involved. That means it depends on the random variable. They will have to count the time also, right? So time dimension is involved here. So that is why it is a stochastic process. Now, what kind of this is a special name. This kind of stochastic process, particular to this arrival, it has a special name. It is called a renewal process. Why it is called renewal? So renewal process is a type of a stochastic process. The name came from the fact that the system, gets renewed every time. What does it mean? Suppose the first customer is arrived. Fine, it has entered the system. The second arrival, when you are looking at this event of second arrival, it is as fresh as the first. That means it doesn't even know that first person had arrived, had entered into the system. So the second customer's decision to arrive at the system is not influenced by the first arrival. So similarly, all other arrivals. So each arrival is a fresh arrival. Are you getting my point? Why I'm saying that each arrival is a fresh arrival? Because that arrival is not influenced, that time, arrival time is not influenced by any past arrivals or any future arrivals. That is why the process, so it is fresh every time, right? So that is why this term renewal, it gets renewed at every event, right? And so as we have discussed, because the arrivals, they do not depend on the past arrivals. So alternatively, we can say that inter-arrival times so if we look at the inter-arrival times, so these are random variables and these are exponentially distributed. So this is a negative exponentially distributed random variable. Why I have taken this negative exponential distributed for inter-arrival times? Anyone, sir? I know these inter-arrival times will be independent of each other, right? This is understood from the process. Now, why I have used exponential distribution to represent this? Anyone? You are aware of exponential distribution, negative exponential distribution?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So why I have taken it? Why not any other variable? What is the property of exponential distribution? What is so special about it? You must have read it.
Probability of service time will decrease, like having more service time will decrease like exponentially.
No. That is not what I am asking. Why am it is not about service time. It is inter-arrival time. Inter-arrival time, I have observed that these inter-arrival times, first of all, it is random, right? So random variable, you must define a random variable. That is understood. Next question is that I have observed that this arrival process is independent of the other arrivals. So each arrival is a fresh arrival, right? So inter-arrival times, these random variables are independent of each other. So to enforce this independence, I have used the exponential distribution. Why?
Because they have a constant average distribution.
No, actually, see, if you have read exponential distribution, about exponential distribution in your, which course you have read it? Probability and statistics course, probably.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes. So I don't know. I mean, sometimes the maths professors, they only talk about these notations and equations and all those things, but you have to get the real meaning and implication of maths, right? So you have heard of a memoryless property of exponential distribution. Have you heard of it? Memoryless property?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So exponential distribution is memoryless. So I'm not going into those proofs and all. You can go back to your probability and statistics course and see it. So, and that is what exactly we need here. Because each arrival is memoryless. It doesn't know about the past arrivals, right? So that's why automatically they become independent of each other. Do you get my point? So that is the reason why I am using inter-arrival times as exponentially distributed random variables. Okay? Got it or not?
Yes, sir. Got it, sir.
Okay. So this is basically your memoryless property. So when for a process, for a stochastic process, these interval times are expressed as exponential distributed random variable, this process has a technical term. And what is that term? It is called Poisson process. Poisson process. So along with normal distribution, you must have read about Poisson distribution as well. And in Poisson distribution, what is the PDF? And you will see exponential factor there, right? Negative exponential, e to the power minus lambda. Is it there or not? In Poisson distribution? Do you remember the form of Poisson distribution? PDF? What is the parameter?
Sir,
Poisson?
we'll have lambda to the power k into e to the power k minus e to the power minus k by k factorial.
Yes. So there you also see negative exponential, right? And these, so this Poisson process is determined by a single parameter lambda. Here, lambda is the what? Arrival rate. Right. That is the number of customers arriving per unit time. So that is the lambda parameter. So what is the benefit? So mathematically we can see, okay, it makes sense because see, arrival process, it is a stochastic, then renewal, all this is fine. And then because arrivals are independent of each other, so I have expressed interval times as negative exponential distributed, the negative exponential variable. All this is fine. And then so the moment you express this interval time as this, so the process becomes a Poisson process. This is the property of Poisson process. So given any Poisson process, the interval times will be a negative exponentially distributed. Okay. Now, from a practical point of view, if you can model arrival process as a Poisson process, then it is very easy to model. Why? Because you have to only determine this lambda. Lambda is the single parameter. For example, if you consider normal distribution, how many parameters are there? Two parameters, the mu and sigma square. Compared to that, Poisson has only one parameter, single parameter, that is the arrival rate, lambda. So, from a statistical data, you can easily compute lambda. How? So you can compute the mean time between arrivals and take a reciprocal, and you will get the arrival rate, lambda. So first you compare basically 1 by lambda. So that is the mean time between arrivals. So that is 1 by lambda. So this can be, usually this is computed from the data, and then you take the reciprocal, you get lambda. Right. So model wise also it is very convenient because you only have to estimate one single parameter from the data. Okay. Now, so I have now modeled the arrival process. So arrival process is a Poisson process with parameter lambda, which is the arrival rate, needs to be estimated from the data. Okay. So now service process. Now as such, this is not a stochastic process, not a stochastic process. Why? Why it is not a stochastic process?
Because time is not involved.
Time is not involved, and also it is not a sort of continuous process. So if you look at the arrival process, suppose I define some variable for arrival, say xt. So xt is the number of customers in the system at time t, and you will always get a value. You will always get a value that even if the customer is not, any customer is not arriving at that particular time t, but suppose 10 people are already in the system, so xt will be 10 at t equal to say 5, right? So you see it's a continuous, the continuity is there. So you take any timestamp, you will get some value for the random variable, right? Continuity is there, continuous variable, right? Continuous distribution, fine. But look at the service times. Look at the bakery shop example here. So here these service interval time intervals, these are, so one server may be busy, and then it may become idle also. If suppose customer is not there, so it will become idle. So when if I want to express this service process as a random variable, say xt, that is the number of so when you look at the service time, basically, so the service time, they are coming as, when I look at the service time, what is their values? Some is 3, then 4, then 1, then 2, like this, right? And first of all, there is no time dimension here, okay, because you do not know when that will get served. So if you say that xt is the I would say that, say, service time at time t, you cannot answer this, because you do not know whether it is actually serving a customer or it is sitting idle, or which customer it is serving. Then accordingly you have to compute the service time. So it is not possible to model as a stochastic process. But we have to get these values, right? 3, 4, 1, 2, we have to generate these values from some random distribution, right? So distribution wise, I can define the service time. So how we can model the service time distribution? Now, in order to model the service time, again I have to make some observations about the system, right? So first observation about the service time is that it is independent of each other. So this is for the first customer, this is for the second customer, this is for the third customer. So second customer service time is independent of the first or independent of any other, right? So independence is there for service times. And also it is independent of the arrival time also. That means when the second customer has arrived, doesn't affect its service time. So it is independent of other service times as well as the arrival time. So then what is the best way to represent it? The service time distribution, from where you can generate these values in the safest way possible. Just now we discussed. So when you were observing this independence among the service times, so what is the best distribution for it? Yes, anyone?
Negative exponential.
Negative exponential, right? So service time is also negative exponentially distributed. This is the assumption basically, right? Assumption, not exactly assumption, it is a logical conclusion from the observation of the system, right? How the queuing system behaves. So this is a logical conclusion that service times will be negative exponentially distributed. With again one parameter, what will be that parameter here? Parameter will be the service rate. Like there it was lambda, the mean arrival rate. Here it will be mu. This is called mu. So this is mean service rate. Mean service rate mu. Okay. So now I have defined this arrivals and services. So arrival process is modeled as a Poisson process with negative interarrival times are negative exponentially distributed, right? The Poisson process has this parameter lambda, and the service times, because again of their independence of other service times, they are also negative exponentially distributed with parameter mu, which is the mean service rate. So this can also be estimated from the data. Right? So now I have modeled these two very important features of queuing system: arrivals and services. Okay. It is very easy to remember. You just remember that for arrival, interarrival time, you are interested in interarrival time, generating the values of interarrival times, right? So you have to generate it from a exponential distribution, negative exponential distribution, because they are independent of each other. Similarly, for the service also, you are interested to generate the service durations, service times, right? That is also generated from negative exponential distribution because of, again, their independent natures. Right? Very simple, very easy to remember and understand. Any question?
No, sir.
Okay. So now go ahead and see some other important features of the queuing system. So one feature is, or one parameter that you would be interested to know is the number of customers in the system. Number of customers in the system. So what is the number of customers in the system? The total number of people that have entered the system but have not yet left. So naturally it will be a summation of, so this is equal to number of customers in service getting served by plus number of customers waiting in the queue. Sounds logical. No need to explain, I think. Okay. Now there are different types of queues. I mean there are different features, properties of the queue. So one is the whether the queue is the system is finite capacity or infinite capacity, right? So I can define capacity. So these are all some features or properties of the system, of a queuing system. So capacity of a system. Capacity of system. It is usually denoted by capital N. So these are standard notations, right? What is the meaning capital N? Say 100. So 100 means maximum 100 people will be allowed. So if you look at the railway counter, in that area, only 100, maximum 100 people will be allowed, can be accommodated. So that is the definition. If 101st person arrives, then he has to leave the city. He cannot enter even. He has to leave. He has to come back to his home. That is the assumption, right? So some systems are like that. If you look at information networks, communication networks, so there is a fixed capacity of a channel, right? So if more data packets arrive, they have to simply reject. So they will be sent back, and they might have to find some another route to reach the destination, right? So And that is the capacity of the system. Now, if there is no capacity, that means infinite. That's fine, infinite. So queue length can be infinite. If there is a capacity, then the queue length has to be finite. So these are called finite length queues. Okay. So suppose capacity is capital N and say number of servers is small c. Number of servers is usually denoted by small c. Then what is the length of the queue?
N minus C.
Yes. So length of the queue will be N minus C. Fine. Fine, this is understood. Now coming to the queue discipline. We have seen already FCFS, first come first served, right? Which is the most popular and most observed discipline in practical queues, right? But there could be, in some cases, there could be last come first served, right? So LCFS could also be there. Even random service selection could also be there. RSS, random service selection. And some other more complicated versions are there. They are like preference-based queues. Preference-based, for example, you would see. I don't know if it is available now, but say when these smart cards were there, right? So if you go to the railway counter to recharge your smart card, right? So irrespective of your arrival time or irrespective of the size of the queue, you will be called first, right? So this is preference based, that they're giving preference to. So it is very hard to find these disciplines like LCFS, last come first served. That when you enter last, you will be served first. Now can you think of any practical example of using LCFS discipline, last come first served?
In computers, they are used, sir. Other than that, I don't know.
Yeah, any practical example, like which is observed in
On
physical
aircraft
world.
carrier, these
Huh?
fighter jets are actually on aircraft carrier. The fighter jets are actually very systematically planned to take off, sir.
That is no.
So
Yeah.
that is an example of last in and first out.
Right. So this is one example. Another example I can think of is this. This check-in counter in the boarding gate of airlines. So what they do now, they first call the last passengers, like the tickets for which the seats are toward the end, toward the tail of the plane. Right? So they first call them, right, and then they call the people having the seats on the front. Right? So this is also an example of last come first served. Okay. So like this, you can observe many other examples also, but these are rare. These are rare. Most common is FCFS. Okay. So this is about queue discipline. Another important aspect is population. So population can be finite or infinite. right? Finite population means, see, when you take this example of railway counter, then you have infinite population. So probably from lakhs and crores of people may come, right, to book the ticket. Fine. But so this is infinite population. This is infinite. Finite population means that you take the example of, say, say manufacturing company which has a fleet of trucks, right, which comes there for loading, right, loading and unloading, whatever it is. So they know they have only 50 trucks. So they may form the queue when they come for loading or unloading, but they always know that the length of the queue will not be more than 50, right, because they have only 50 trucks. So that is called finite population. So limited number of potential customers. So that is finite. So again, from on this population, you can observe this finite and infinite. Now, based on all these properties, Kendall developed a notation to denote a queue. So this is commonly referred to as Kendall's notation. What is Kendall's notation? So I'm taking you an example, say GI E3 small c, say 10, 10 and LCFS. So this is an example of Kendall's notation. What is this first term? First term represents the interarrival time, this distribution for interarrival time. So just now we have assumed this negative exponential, but it can be anything depending on the data, right, or the type of this giving C. So this is general, general independent interarrival time, GI, general independent interarrival time. It can be exponential, right? It can be Erlang, it can be deterministic, right? So this represents the interarrival time distribution. Interarrival time distribution, right? The next term is for the service time. Service time distribution. Erlang 3, Erlang K, right? Erlang is a distribution, you know. So Erlang 3 distribution, service time. You can put exponential here also. For exponential, we use M, capital M, Markovian. We will come to why we call it Markovian if we use exponential distribution. We'll come to that later, but for exponential, the notation is M. So if interarrival time exponential, so big M, then again big M, right? Service time. So like this. So next term is service time. Next one is the number of servers. C is the number of servers. Next term is the system capacity. System capacity. Next term is the population size. Population size. And then this is the queuing discipline. Fine. All of these are discussed and these are put in this order in the Kendall's notation. So this queue represents the interval time general independent. Erlang 3 is the service time distribution. Small c is the number of servers. System capacity having 10 units. Then population size having 10. So, and the queuing discipline is LCFS. For the bakery shop example, can you now tell me what will be the notation for the bakery shop example? If you follow this Kendall's notation, what will be the queue notation for the bakery shop example? So first one is interarrival time. What is it for the bakery shop? Exponential. Huh? Yes, negative exponential, so which is Markovian, capital M, right? The next service time is also
M.
And then number of server
1.
1. And then the system capacity,
Nothing was mentioned.
nothing was mentioned. So you take at the bakery, you visualize the bakery in your local area. What is the system capacity? Is there any
10.
limit?
10 maybe, I think.
Why 10?
Like 2 to 3 people will be there. So
No, system capacity is the number of people
yeah, and 2 to
that
3.
can be accommodated within the system.
Yeah, so 5 to 6 can stand in line and 3 are taking the service.
No, so if the space is limited that only 5 to 6 can stand, then it will be 10. But usually in bakery shop there is no limit,
Okay.
isn't it? So usually it is infinite. But of course, if you think of a closed space bakery or something, then it may be limited. Okay. Then, so it will be infinite. Similarly, population size is infinite, and the Q discipline is
First come, first serve.
person. Now, if the system capacity is infinite, population size is infinite, and if it is FCFS, so these are standard, right? So we do not even mention it here. So we just keep it simple as MM1. So we call it MM1 system. So it automatically means that system capacity is infinite, population size is infinite, and the discipline is FCFS. If there is any change in population size, is finite or something, then you have to put it explicitly. And if nothing is mentioned, then you have to assume that these are all infinite and the discipline is FCFS. So bakery shop is represented by MM1. Okay. Now tomorrow, on Sunday, right? Sunday from what time? 8 p.m. So there we will see how we can use these different distributions to estimate the performance measures, which is the steady state behavior of this given system. Because finally we are interested to know that what will be the mean delay, right? What will be the utilization of the servers? What will be the impact of closing down a server or adding a server? So these are the questions we are interested to know from the models, right? So in the next class we'll cover that.
Sir, can you save this slide?
I'll save it and send